between all of us.
Breaking news about DesteniProductions. So this is a video reply to Judy. And yes, it is time to break the cycle of such deceptive news. So in this video, Judy starts by advising everyone to investigate and find out the news for themselves, because not all that's on the internet is true. However, in considering the amount of videos that exist from the Destiny websites and blogs, she's looking for answers on the Cult Education Forum and makes assumptions, not knowing if it's true or not, but simply putting the dots together from Google researches. So anyone that would be interested in searching and finding out what's really going on, they should go to the sources and not just being based on what other people would commenting, because it's always a projection of their own judgments. So let's just move on. And yeah, and in fact, she affirms that her video is because she's receiving questions about Destiny, and this only confirms that today in society people don't trust themselves, and they have to ask for others approval and confirmation instead of, seeing the information if it's something useful for them, and trying to apply for themselves. And and it's the foolish that gets distracted with details without wanting to see the bigger picture in self-honesty. And if anyone wants to participate in getting answers, then she and everyone else has to see what's their starting point, and not a starting point of distrust, accusation, and a manipulative investigation, because one will only find out what is willing to find. And on her video, there are many accusations without information from the source and without even being involved, and that's quite serious, and it shows how human beings can be evil towards others with such projections. For example, about the expenses, why are expenses so high? Well, it's common sense that a farm requires basic expenses, and people are really putting the work to develop it. And this has nothing to do with a free society, as it was called. What we defend is a new economic system based on equality, because until then, no one is really free. And if you want to have a farm and taking care of animals, that costs a lot. And then people will not be able to work in things that they are good and enjoying themselves, because they have to be so worried. And this happens everywhere. So we are in the same situation, and that's why we are moving ourselves to make sure that this situation has an end, in terms of how people are working so hard and knowing that we have the resources. Humanity has created so good things, but still, if you don't have enough money, you won't have access to it, and it's not fair to anyone. And this is the point of equality, that everyone has should have the right to everything that is beneficial for everyone individually, and of course then as a group, as a society. Life is not good for the majority of people in this reality, unless you're part of the elite, of course. So apparently only those that are really willing to change and letting go of their ego, then they will move themselves. And this is coming to a point where people need any kind of motivation to change, as if things were all right. They are not, and we have to be aware of that. And yes, and we don't want that to exist as we have existed so far, knowing and with all the information that we have that this is not the best that we can do to ourselves. On the point where she asks, why do we look for answers in the past? instead of looking for answers in the future, channeling in the future, for example, and that even in the Bible says don't listen to channeling or other entities because they know nothing. Well, there has always been signs of change and people standing up. However, the level of mind control as well as the labor slavery that people had never gave them the opportunity to expand themselves and to have more information and to use that information in a constructive way. So over the history, those that bring new ideas are considered as a threat, and many are only recognized later. But time is compressed now, and the consequences of the acceptance of this human deception is now making humanity stop and start again. So the future, even if we want to channel in the future, won't be different unless the past stops being repeated. So hope in the future is useless unless one changes in the present by stopping the patterns of the past. And just a note, the Bible was written to make sure that humanity stayed enslaved forever, hoping for the future while missing life here. And just to finalize this video, again, Judy says and recommends people to make the research for themselves. But what I would say is that more than making research, it is because that's too much information and too much knowledge, and we have been filling our lives with books. So it's really time for people to give them a chance to ask themselves what is happening here, what's the best for ourselves and for everyone at the moment. Why do we still resist to apply self-forgiveness, for example? Why people resist to look at themselves in self-honesty and clear their layers of patterns manifested since ever? Because it's much easier to get distracted and entertained with information and books and researches than living it in practice. And in the end, she says, peace out. And I ask myself, how can someone ask for peace in this world when their participation is about creating conflict and distrust amongst people? Thank you.
It's a strife. The light is rife because deception in all of us.